Mermaid Island is a fully cooperative game for young children age 5 and up, but you can play it with children that are much younger than that. I play with my daughter Amelia, who is 5, and my daughter Louisa, who is 3, and they can both play it and enjoy it. A game by Peaceable Kingdom that specializes in this kind of game, which is cooperative games for kids. And that already is a great idea. We need cooperative games for children. Children enjoy games. The dark side is that they don't enjoy losing, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes they don't enjoy seeing their friends be miserable because they lost. This takes care of all that and teaches children valuable cooperative skills. They learn to share, they learn to work together towards a common goal. All good things. Now, as for Mermaid Island, the theme, well, the players are trying to help some mermaids to go back to their island, but there is the evil witch of the sea that is trying to catch them, and we don't want the witch of the sea to do that, do we? The game is pretty simple, as you can expect, and it should be for a game aimed at children this young, and the instructions are written on the back of the box, of the lid, I mean. And here we have a cover to keep the components in place. You remove the cover and you have the main thing. Everything is very green, component-wise, which is something else they like about Peaceable Kingdom. They're very aware of the planets we live in and the limited amount of resources in it. You open the envelope, and this is the stuff that you have in it. You have this spinning wheel here to determine random events in the game. You have the evil witch of the sea that starts here in the seaweed tangle. And then you have these 3 mermaids that go there. And these magic wands there. Now, let's get it out there. This is a roll and move game, or I should say a spin and move game. And the advantage is that the children you're playing it with are most likely familiar with games of this type. They may have played Candyland, stuff like that. But what is good about this game is that it does have some decisions that the players have to make. It has more complexity, it has player interaction. Whereas, of course, games that are merely roll and move, they're basically not even games. I mean, if you don't have decisions that you can make and that affect the outcome of the game, that's not a game. That's just a weird, pointless, structured activity. There's a game because players do make decisions, and decisions that are relevant, unless it just so happens that luck works against them and the decisions are not that relevant. We'll get to that point later. Now let's see how the game works first. You have these 3 mermaids that belong to the team. That is, it's not like I have this one, you have this one, and she has that one. They just belong to the entire team. So any player can move any of the mermaids. When you get a chance to move a mermaid, you choose which one and you move it. Doesn't matter whom the mermaid belongs to. Technically, they don't belong to anybody. Now, for reasons that I will explain in a second, actually, when I play with my daughters, so it's the 3 of us, me and my 2 daughters, we do assign the mermaids to specific players. Usually, my daughter Louisa gets this one because she likes blue components. My daughter Amelia gets this one because she likes purple, and pink is the closest one. She can settle for pink, and then I'm left with this one. So we do say, this is mine, this is Amelia's, this is Louisa's. We still enforce the rule that everybody can move any mermaid. But in this sense, first they just feel more attracted to the game if they do have the sense, this is mine, and this is yours, and this is mine, or whatever. They just get more into it. And the concept of it's a team, nobody really owns them. It's a little stranger for them, maybe just because they're not used from other games, but it's a little harder to grasp. As I said, so we just say this is mine, and the idea is that you can still move any mermaid that you want following usual rules, but you have to ask. So if we talk about the situation and it's my turn and it turns out that moving Louisa's mermaid would be better, then I simply ask, look, Louisa, can I move yours? Because I think this is going to be better. Louisa's going to be super happy because her mermaid is going to move out of turn. She didn't even expect that she would be able to move. So you kind of like it feels for the young gamers like they're receiving a favor and they love it. And then they're all happy then to return it. Say, oh my gosh, that now I'm going to move yours. And then you're going to say, well, wait a second, let's see if that's a good thing. So actually, they also get trained in this idea of asking if they can use somebody else's things. It's sort of like a mini version of learning how to borrow things and to return things. And they get also the idea that it can be nice to help somebody else, to skip your turn so you can help somebody else, because overall that's the best thing. And I think that's an even more interesting idea than the idea they don't belong to anybody, we all move them. The idea that it could be good for me if I help you with your mermaid. At least I found that this idea is so hard to implement in any other aspect of life for young children. It's really remarkable how easy it is for them to cooperate and to lend, quote unquote, to lend stuff and to borrow stuff and to ask if they can use somebody else's stuff. I find it much easier for them to grasp and to implement in this game than, well, in pretty much any other activity that I've seen them doing. So, there's a great aspect of the game. I suggest you play with this variant. If you have 2 players, then assign, and you will get your children or the children you're playing with to also develop or train themselves with a nice set of skills. Now, what happens here? How does the game work? When it is your turn, you spin the wheel, as I think you imagine. If the witch turns out to be the selection of Lady Fortune for this turn, then simply the witch moves onto that track for the first time the witch activates, and then each time that it activates, then it simply moves by a space along this track. When a number is selected, when a number happens to be the result of the spin, so 1 or a 2, then the active player can move any one of the mermaids by that amount of spaces. So I just got a 2, I can move any mermaid, not necessarily mine, by 2 spaces. 1, 2. Very simple. Super simple. And 1, of course, means any mermaid can be moved by 1 space. When a mermaid moves onto a space with a wand, the wand is collected, and again it belongs to the entire team. So what we do, we put it here as a reminder, also because this time if a child starts holding it for too long, the child then has a hard time giving it up, and that wand can be used later to move the witch back by 1 space. That is, when you spend it, and to mark that we spend the 1, we flip it face down, then you simply move the witch back by 1 space. But alas, if it is the sea witch that gets onto a wand, then the sea witch grabs it, and that wand is not available for the players anymore. No, too bad. If a mermaid lands exactly at the beginning of a bridge, so this one or this one, the mermaid can move to the other side of the bridge, which is a great way, of course, to bypass the witch. If the witch has already come out of there, then, well, it's gonna be pretty dangerous to move through it. Technically, I don't remember seeing any rule against this, at least this is how we played it. If you're here and you spin a 2, you could move this mermaid by 1 and 2. The rule only says the mermaid catches the witch catches the mermaid when the witch lands on it. But if you do this, then you're right in front of the witch, and then there is a danger, of course, then next spin the witch will catch you. But you could have, for example, a combo of actions in which you do play a 2 here and then you play a 1. That increases your chances of making it safely as you're passing through the witch. But by far, the safest option is still to use the bridge, which of course can be done only in very specific times. So if players will keep spinning the wheel, moving around, moving themselves, or the witch play with the bridges a little bit. And if the witch lands on a mermaid, the mermaid has to start all the way to the beginning, which really is totally painful. If all the mermaids, all three of them, have reached Mermaid Island at the center of the board before the witch does, then the team cooperatively wins the game. Otherwise, if the witch reaches the island before all three mermaids made it there, the witch wins the game, which of course means that the team cooperatively, alas, did not win. You don't use the word the team lost when you're playing with kids. You just say, we didn't win this time. Which of course it means we are lost, but it's so much nicer this way. I wish adults could think of losing that way in such a healthy way. Now, this is the game. It's very simple, well, luckily enough, as it should be for children this young, but it is a game that has enough decisions for a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 5-year-old, and older than that. Of course, it's a game that will not last for all that long in a family when a child starts getting 8 or so, or 9. The child probably gonna start looking for something a little more complex than this. It is, however, a game that really fills a nice slot for children on a very young age, preschool, kindergarten, first, second grade, because it does teach them a lot of interesting skills. At school, they don't even know that they're learning anything, but they still are. Also, a little bit about probability. As of course, well, you kind of have to figure out how often, how likely is it that I'm gonna get a 1 or 2 as opposed to I'm gonna get eaten by the witch. It is definitely a game with a lot of nice concepts that are buried in the design and that the kids will learn to become familiar with while still enjoying themselves. Is it a game that is enjoyable and fun for the kids to play? Well, let me tell you right away, this is sometimes my daughter's favorite board game, period. Well, if I say period, then I said, now open another sentence. What do I mean by this sometimes their favorite game? That the game is completely random. There are decisions that the players make, and those are good, and they affect the overall outcome to an extent. I mean, the challenges that they have to figure out, for example, sometimes you want to slow down your mermaids to give them a chance to wait for the sewage to go past here, and then they can move by the slide. There are challenges, there are decisions that the team makes, but ultimately the overall flow, pace, and narrative of the game is entirely determined by this, which means there are times where the sewage starts running and just never stops, and the players never get a chance, no matter how smart they are in the way they use the wands or they cooperate and share actions. And there are times where the sewage stays dormant for the entire game. Maybe by the end of the game, the sewage made it here. She still looks like all groggy, like she just woke up, and the mermaid's already here partying. Either time when the witch runs a lot or almost never moves, they're not going to be all that exciting. My daughters sometimes are just a little bored themselves, a little disappointed. The game is very fast. Actually, when you see that the game is hopeless for the mermaids, or it's gonna be a absolutely safe win, you can cut it short. You can say, look, we're definitely gonna win. We don't necessarily need to get to the end, or we're definitely not gonna win this time. Why don't we just start over? So there are games that are just going to fall a little bit flat. That's the way it is. But on the other time, it does happen quite often, luckily enough, that this game is really tense, is really tight, the way it should be. With the witch being slightly behind some of the players, maybe a little bit ahead of one of them, and then these players are just running for their life as the witch is always there. Then it becomes really exciting when you manage to go on the slide right before she catches you. But then, oh my gosh, our friend is still there, and we need to make sure she doesn't bump into the witch. We're waiting for the witch to move, and then she can go there. So when the witch moves appropriately, which is a very vague definition of whatever it is that I mean, what I mean is when she moves in such a way that she creates a challenge, which is not impossible, but fun and exciting, then the game is fun and exciting. I know, again, it sounds like a circular argument, which it is. It is just another way of saying The spinner will give you very different gaming experiences, and some of those will not present any sort of challenge. When a situation where the witch interacts in a fun, exciting, threatening, but not impossible to deal with way, then the kids are gonna have a blast. What happens really is that when we pull out this game, we play a couple of games in which we're super excited, and then a game happens which is too easy or too hard, and then the daughters decide, well, why don't we play something else? But this is a game that we have had since August, so for some time now. End of July, technically, was Janko 2015 where I picked it up. And my girls have enjoyed it a lot, and they occasionally still ask me to play it. We have many games, and sometimes there are games that they enjoy a lot for a while and they forget about it or about them. But this one keeps coming back, keeps hitting the table. Even if, as I said, sometimes the game falls a little bit flat, the memories of the exciting times in which playing the game was really fun are enough to make my daughters remember about this game and to make them ask me to play the game over and over again. So definitely an enjoyable game. Not all games played with Mermaid Island are gonna be the same, are gonna be equally exciting, but overall this is definitely a nice looking package, again, that is very accessible to young children. Components are attractive and fun. Do not be turned off by the mermaid theme. If you have little boys, I think there's nothing wrong if you expose your young boys to games with girls in them. If anything, is gonna help break down some outdated stereotypes that really we shouldn't be dealing with anymore in the 21st century. There's nothing wrong for a little boy to identify with young, strong women that are fighting for their freedom against the evil witch. So, don't worry about that. Definitely a fun, nice game. Some of the games will fall a bit flat, but then start the game over and you may get luckier next time, and the witch may present you with a more fun challenge for you and your young ones. Overall, really good children game.